Hello and welcome. This is Fireworks. In the year 2016, Nigeria's population reached 182 million in the world, with more than half that number being under 30 years of age. When you place this side by side with the 2016 quarterly report of the NBS, that's the National Bureau of Statistics, unemployment rose from 27.12 million to 28.58 million in the fourth quarter of 2016. Now, this means that more than half the population of the country, that's of young people, are unemployed. Today, we review that challenge amongst other issues of equal national importance. Welcome to Fireworks. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo. Take a close view of my guests, and we'll be right back. Thank you for staying tuned to Fireworks. Today I take on the Honorable Minister of Labour, Employment and Productivity in the person of His Excellency Chief Chris Ngige. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, Bukola.
Let's start with the Empower program of the federal government, the intervention to cushion the effect of unemployment. Of course, you listened to the figures that I reeled out only moments ago. How has the Empower program helped to cushion the effect of these worrying figures?
Well, the Empower program, as you know, is an interventionist program. It's part of our National Social Investment Program. And this National Social Investment Program has other components. We have the Empower program, we have the Homegrown School Feeding program, we have the conditional cash transfer, we have the microcredit scheme for market women and traders and new entrepreneurs. Of course, we also have in that program the scholarship scheme for people in tertiary institutions who are reading agriculture, sciences, and engineering, information technology. But the Empower program itself, by design, we were supposed to capture 1 million persons in 2 years. First phase, 2016, we were supposed to take in 500,000 persons. And these 500,000 persons were broken down in such a way that we will have some to go into Empower Teach. Empower Teach is for those from every discipline.
So it's the Empower Teach program that is in the eye of the storm now, with a lot of negative reports coming from different parts of the country. It's bogged down by stories of irregularities in the application process and all of that. The officials who handled the Empower applications for rich states, didn't they scrutinize the applications thoroughly before they admitted the Empower employees into the Teach program? And these irregularities were not detected before they started working?
So that is it. That's what it means. Because it is the state that concluded that exercise.
Doesn't it call to question the competence of those who screened them in the first place?
No, it will not come, because what the people were screening at the time was these people that registered with us to go into Empower program. Do they have the requisite qualification? Do they fall within the age bracket? There's an age bracket in the whole affair. And have they filled their particulars rightly? And I'm telling you that I'm not sure that the BVN was one of the factors used at the portal. It was something that was used manually when they had gone to the states. So it was at the state level that they supplied their BVN for their payments to be done. So it could have well been that because it was done manually there, a lot of these problems have arisen. But I can tell you that in the 2017 exercise, it won't be there.
That explanation remains unsatisfactory. But then again, there are some with genuine who claim that they have genuine papers, applications. Still, they have not gotten their stipends, and they are the ones who have begun protesting in Edo State, to be specific. So, in that regard, what really is the problem?
Well, they have said so. I have gotten petitions on that. But the truth of the matter is that this Empower program is not domiciled in the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment. It is not. It is domiciled in the office of the Vice President. And the officers who are manning the portals, and there's a consultant actually on the scheme. So,
but isn't the Ministry of Labor, Employment and Productivity supervising that exercise? No.
We don't supervise it wholly. I'm just, we are there. I'm a member of the steering committee on social investment program as a whole. We are trying to carve a niche. We're trying to rewrite history. It's never happened here in Nigeria before. It has never also happened anywhere in Africa. So, to that extent, no, I will not condemn the program. Unemployment, generally, yes, I'm worried. But what do you say when you're having a depressed economy? Unemployment is one of the indices.
But it was part of your promises upon assumption of office as Minister for Labor and Productivity. Now, since we're still talking employment. Since we're still talking jobs, in the private sector, there were over 3,000 job losses in the oil sector. That's according to Nupeng and Pengerson. In the banking sector, over 4,000 job losses, without mentioning the names of the banks. Shouldn't there have been an interventionist program to help safeguard jobs in that sector at that time? Or how helpless were you?
Funny enough, these two sectors you're talking about, the oil and gas sector and the banking sector, are where we intervened directly as government. And we did what we can call unorthodox intervention. You know why? The price of oil went down. The output in the Niger Delta also went down. There was militancy, there was destruction of oil facilities. So the oil companies were not investing anymore. They couldn't go and explore for new oil.
So what was the nature of your intervention?
My intervention was that we had to call them to a meeting. We called the OICs, the oil majors, international oil company, IOCs. We called them to a meeting. We called the union, and we brainstormed and came out with an agreement that even though we cannot create new jobs, let there be no job losses. Even if there are going to be job losses, because the company is no longer going into the Atlantic Ocean to go and explore or do inland oil exploration, or even sell and export, dig and export. If you're not going to do that, we know, let us keep the jobs. Cut pegs from up, from the MDs, from the EDs, from the general managers, all these people who go on holidays 4 times a year, all these people who have 6 to 10 cars, all these people who, so you cut down on those pegs and bring the cuts down so that we can keep the jobs in the middle cadre and the lower cadre. And it worked. It worked. It could have been worse if we didn't do that. But we did that, and it worked.
So your intervention still resulted in 3,000 job losses?
It could have been worse. That's what I'm telling you. It could have been worse. It should have been, if we didn't intervene, it should have been about 12,000 jobs. I can tell you authoritatively.
Relatedly, before we exit labor issues, let's look at the issue of casualization, pension deductions, for the banking sector and the public sector workers, really, because they're visible. Their issues are always in the face of the public. But for other private sector workers. I wonder if there's any government task force to look into these issues in order that their interests will be protected, because most workers in the private sector are forbidden from participating in unionism, and so you have their pensions not remitted. A lot of this is going on in the private sector. Some of them are sacked indiscriminately. How worried or even aware is government about these unwholesome activities?
Well, the Nigerian Constitution in Section 40 is clear on freedom of association, freedom of assembly, and freedom to even form associations and unions. It even extrapolates that of associations to form political parties. That's where you would derive it from. The ILO Convention on Rights, that's Article 87, is clear on people forming unions. So if any employer of labor is preventing people from unionizing, he's running foul of Nigerian Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. He's running foul of the Trade Union Act of Nigeria. He's also running foul of the ILO Convention. It's voluntary, if you know. So that is what the law says. It's voluntary. It's not by force.
I wonder how reassuring your position on what the law says is. We won't exit labor issues in a hurry. We'll look at labor and factions when we return after this break. You're watching Fireworks, and I've been talking with the Honorable Minister for Labor and Employment, Chief Chris Ngige. Stay with Fireworks. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying tuned to Fireworks. If you've been following discourse, we've been talking with the Honorable Minister for Labor and Employment, Dr. Senator, whichever you like, Chris Ngige. Let's return to labor issues before we begin to look at politics. Let's specifically revisit the event of the May 2017 labor celebration, during which you and some principals of the National Assembly got an unwholesome reception from workers. Now, when you reflect on that particular May Day celebration, how does it make you feel about the challenges with labor?
What happened that day was a communication gap, and some unwholesome thing also happened before the May Day on the part of the government. First and foremost, people who were going on May Day on May 1 expected that they would get their April salary before May 1. They didn't get their salary, except in some states where state governments paid. The May Day rally in Eagle Square is a federal thing. So all federal workers were not paid, including us, as ministers and permanent secretaries. So that was a build-up. Two, the minimum wage committee, which they believe would solve most of their problems, even though they were uninformed, because as at the time we did that, we had finished the technical committee work and was going to send the recommendation of the technical committee to the Federal Executive Council for approval. And that approval came 2 weeks after the May Day.
Let's talk about the minimum wage. I understand there's a tripartite negotiation ongoing. What is the update of on that, if you have any?
No, there's an update and there's a cherry update. The Federal Executive Council in the meeting of May 24 approved the recommendations of the tripartite technical committee. That tripartite technical committee was a committee of labor unions and the government side. They had recommended on the issue of national minimum wage, because if you remember very well, at the end of the day, the Waba faction, according to you, and the Ajero faction negotiated with us and both agreed on the technical committee being set up. We set up this technical committee of 18 members. They finished their work, made recommendation that to cushion the effect of the pump rise, the increase in pump price of petroleum, we have to do some palliative. Part of this palliative is the National Social Investment Program. Part of this palliative is housing for workers, which, as you know, the FISH program is part of it. And then assisting them also in their own housing program, which the labor unions are doing. Plus that the government has also a mass housing scheme, of which workers and other Nigerians will benefit from. The other leg of the cushioning effect was the minimum wage. They have asked for an increase and gave us a proposal of 64,000. The Ajero group wrote their own proposal and said they want 90,000. But they're all representative of workers' interests. Now, in the technical committee I'm talking about now, the Ajero people had two representatives. WABA group had people, and the TUC had people. It's not a divide and rule situation. They are all workers' interests.
The division has come home to haunt.
Yes, and we must accommodate everybody.
Labor again.
We must accommodate everybody. So government is even behaving like a father. We don't want to socialize any group. We say you are all one before you had your disagreement. So give us people.
But government can sit comfortably and fold its arms and say, oh, they are divided.
No, but we don't want to do that. Not when I'm labor minister. I won't do that. I won't capitalize on the shortcomings or their differences.
So why wait for the report of the Elders Committee, which is long coming since 2015?
No. You didn't want to listen to the story. I'm giving you a brief background. You asked me a question on the minimum wage, where we are. And I'm telling you that we are making progress, and it's work in progress. As I speak today, the 29-member committee that they recommended for the issue of minimum wage had been approved by Federal Executive Council in May 24. You can do a review, and when the governors bring their facts, the manufacturers bring their facts, the independent persons bring their facts, and everybody places his or her facts on the table, we will then see where we go from there.
We hope you all reach a middle ground favorable.
We will reach a middle
especially
ground.
To the workers.
You are a worker, so you'll be interested in that. I'm also a worker. I'm paid salary, so maybe I will join you.
Well, we hope that you, alongside other ministers, will be willing to take a salary cut so that workers like me and others in the public sector can smile. Will you be willing to take a pay cut?
I'm a conciliator.
All right. Let's move on.
On the issue, I will be neutral. I'll be neutral.
I'm not surprised. Let's look at politics.
Yes.
Before we begin to look at Anambra politics, you were in the 7th Senate.
Yes.
And there are agitations for, restructuring, and the definition of which Nigerians have not really arrived at. But what may have turned out, what should have turned out as a ray of hope for all these agitations was is the ongoing constitution review of the 8th National Assembly.
Yes.
And it turned out that the Senate voted against devolution of powers. Is that, does it foreclose the issue of restructuring?
The issue of devolution of power, I have listened and even discussed with the Senate President since it happened, because a lot of us are not happy with that. I'm a politician, I have a constituency, even though I'm no longer in the Senate, but I'm still a political man in my constituency, and people come to me. So I have also been in government. I've been a governor of a state, and I also know where it pinches been there. I've also been in the Senate, and now I'm a minister in the Federal Executive Council. So there are issues, there are many issues that should leave the exclusive federalist. It should not even leave. It should just be married into the concurrent list so that state governments can come and do some of them. And the good thing about it is that the Constitution has said that wherever a state assembly makes a law, passes a legislation that is in conflict with an act of National Assembly, that law is void. The one of National Assembly supervenes. So, I mean, that alone should bring a lot of things into the concurrent list. And that's the devolution. For example, the issue of prisons. Why should the federal government be the only one that is funding prisons and prisoners?
So what's the message? What's the message the Senate is sending with its action?
No, I think, like the Senate President tried to explain, the country is heated up now. So a lot of people are very suspicious. And I'm told that my friends and colleagues from the north, led by my very good friend Ngige, that they met and decided to oppose anything moving out from the exclusive legislative list till they go back and consult with their
Honorable Minister, a vote for devolution of powers would have been a reflection of a Senate listening, you know, to the yearnings of its people, the people that they represent.
I'm telling you that there was some bad blood. There was some bad blood before the voting. And Senator Ngige and I think Ahmed Lawan, even the majority leader of the Senate, said that they needed to go back and consult their constituents.
So amidst all this, the Senate turned its back on the people?
No. There's a proviso in the rules of the Senate. In the 7th Senate is there, it's also in the rules of the 8th Senate. They can bring back a bill, but they have to go and override that particular aspect of their rules. They override it and then come back and present.
Now, Senator Ngige, a lot of rumors are flying about here and there about Anambra in the coming governorship election. Even your opponents.
Who are my opponents?
Which party is in power in Anambra State? You and I know.
Oh, APGA. Are they afraid? Anytime I cough, APGA people shiver. So even up to now, like you said, they are not very satisfied. They don't believe that I'm not in the race. They're entitled to the opinion. The rumor mills should always be there. This is political times, and these are times for rumors. So,
but why should they be afraid? Or why should APGA be afraid? The government of the day in that state is being commended.
By who? By you press people?
Not necessarily by the press. If I would quote the words of the one of the sons of the soil, not the press now. I'm talking about former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Yes.
He says to calls for him to contest the Anambra governorship race, there is no change, no need for change at the moment.
Yes.
Anambra is the 4th largest economy in Nigeria behind Lagos, Abuja, and Rivers.
That's,
how would you respond?
Professor Soludo. Soludo is my friend, Professor Charles Soludo, but he failed it big time here. I don't know the indices with which he measured the economy of Anambra State. He thinks because he's an economist and former governor of Central Bank, he utters this and all of us will believe. We will not believe. I was governor in that state. He wasn't governor there. So I know the GDP of the place.
Still, it is a seat that he would like to occupy. So if he commends the man who is in the saddle at the moment,
yes,
shouldn't
that should tell you
those who will vote
it should tell you the
for
whole
the person
story.
in that seat in 2019, take a second listen at whoever is commending the person in power.
Yes, that is it now. He is praising the man because he believes that when the man finishes his second term, the seat will rotate to Anambra South, which is his own, and that he will then have a good dive.
So Governor Obiano's performance is unsatisfactory.
Very, very unsatisfactory.
So you're going to destroy, you're going to
Let me tell you.
You're going to pull down the flyovers.
In the first place, they didn't get approval of the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing to do that. Because if they apply, Federal Ministry of Works and Housing will bring it to the Federal Executive Council. That is the normal thing on a federal road for any state that is trying to do anything. They didn't bring it. 2, there were no designs in the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing for those monstrous things there. Because if you go to them now, they have cracks, they have fissures, leaking water from top, which goes to show that the fissures are coming from the asphalted component of those bridges. And to make matters worse, because they have realized that what they have done, they went and put crowbars. They put bars that doesn't allow big vehicles, any bus or trailer or tipper to pass. It's only for cars. Because those bridges will fail integrity tests. And so I have warned my people in Anambra State, we don't want to have a disaster in our hand. Those bridges are condemnable, they are death traps, and should be removed.
So, state categorically now, for the benefit of your supporters, are you in the saddle in the next election or not?
Electable. We can't elect him anymore as governor. He has failed all the tests. He failed the economic test. He failed the political test. He failed every test. Infrastructure, nothing. There is no road project that is flagged off and commissioned. Let them point at one. Let them show me one. I mean one. Any road that is about 5 kilometers that they've started, flagged off, built, and commissioned. None. And this is a man we left a lot of money for. I left some money for P2B. I left 13.8 billion for P2B. Governor Obi. Governor Obi left about 70 billion for him. Many instruments of money. Today, Anambra is borrowing. They have borrowed close to 60 billion. And Professor Soludo comes and tells me that is the 4th largest growing economy. He tells me that there's no need for a change. I didn't borrow 1 penny as governor. For 34 months I was there. I did not benefit or borrow from any financial institution. Instead, I was paying back to the financial institutions monies that Governor Badneju owed.
We want to thank you very much, Dr. Chris Ngige, for your time on Fireworks today. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
That's how it's been on the program today. There's a ray of hope, even though it's a bit hazy at the moment, especially for workers, considering the review of the minimum wage. Let's see what comes out of the tripartite negotiations that government is embarking on with different parties. Join us again same time next week when we'll bring you another incisive edition of the program. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo. Bye for now. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bukola.